Yeah, hello everyone, welcome to this message. As our first card today, we have She of the Kruak. So, this is like, it talks about like the lens you look through, but it can also talk about motherly energy as well. So, let's just see. And then these next two cards are Loatas the Wild and the Dark Lady. And then let's look at the overall energy, which is incredibly fascinating. Because it is a Page of Swords, and this pair says letting go and digesting. So let's see. So why is this very interesting? Because I am making um, things like figurines for, amongst other things, right? So there are like a lot more things that I'm creating in terms of objects. Um, so so it looks to me like that pretty much, right? As I'm looking at this image, and it says here letting go and digesting. So what could this mean? So this, I guess, like talks about making things, right? To create things, to make things. And it could also talk about, like in the past, this would have talked about like this pure white dress being smeared, you know? So your purity being smeared. So either it talks about your purity being smeared, or it could talk about you creating physical objects, perhaps, or you creating things, making things. And there's something about this pair, and the pear makes me think about that it like when you eat a pear, like people say that it causes you to be able to go to the bathroom, right? So it makes things loose, I guess. So it makes things loose. I do think like these two things cannot be made loose, right? Maybe if you have some soap, which is also very interesting because I'm also making my own soap amongst other things. So that's also very interesting. But there's something about yeah, yeah, strange. So there's something about like soap can make something loose, right? So you have like if you have like a purity and you are being smeared by the world, right? For example, right? Smeared in by the world in terms of your purity, and when then soap can like clear this up, right? Like so maybe even like perhaps in a sense like creating things, for example, in my case, could be like creating things, making things, being creative, right? And like this could be a metaphor for so many things, right? Creating, some people create songs, right? Other people like they create apps. It could be anything, right? So but there may be something about you making things, you creating things could have a purifying effect in the sense of like similar to soap on a dress, taking the stains out of it, right? So returning back to purity. So it could have something to do with that, that you are coming back to purity. And it has a little bit of a correlation in terms of messaging in the past as relates to childlike innocence, the holy fool, right? So it could have something to do with like you making things, you creating things, you being creative has a purifying effect on you, also in terms of a smear campaign. So, so the effects of that, or maybe people, maybe your reputation will rise as a result of that, or like you will be able to come back to innocence, to purity, to childlike innocence, to childlike purity, to the holy fool, right? Who goes on adventures and tests things out and tries things, right? And there's something about maybe that you will be able to let something go, to let the past go, or to let judgment go, or but it's something like that it makes things come loose, right? Because a prayer makes things come loose. If we relate that to this, there's something about that it makes things come loose. So it could be that it makes things flow, right? Flow again. So there could be something about that as you are being creative, that this makes the judgment come loose, right? That you are coming back to your purified self, to childlike innocence, to the holy fool journey, right? So you're coming back to that, to childlike creativity, right? So you're coming back to the purity of yourself, and maybe also to your holy nature, perhaps, because it looks a little bit like a holy statue, right? So you could be returned to your holy nature as a result of that. But also, it will loosen things up. So maybe things will start flowing again in your life as you are going on this journey. So let's see. And then we have She of the Kruak. So She of the Kruak, as it relates to this, it could have something to do with perhaps, if you would see it a little bit like whole, like the Virgin Mary, right? Um to Mary, because there's something about motherly energy, right? So maybe this will loosen up your Mary-like motherly energy, nurturing, right? Nurturing, caring, and that you are also seeing the world through the lens of nurturing and caring, perhaps. So maybe a mother takes care of her children, right? A mother takes care of the world. So it could be that this is starting to loosen up, that you are slowly starting to want to, maybe your motherly nature is coming more online, I guess, which you could see as like mama bear, right? So like maybe you are becoming more protective towards the world, more nurturing, seeking to nurture, seeking to care for the world, seeking to protect the world as well. So maybe that is coming forth as a result of you being creative, making things. There could be something connected to that, or there is a motherly energy type of activation that comes from that because you want to nurture and care for the world through your creations, perhaps. And then we have Luata Zobal. So there's something about that it speeds things up as well. And just in general, this card usually talks about like looking at things from a non-egoic perspective, right? So a non-egoic, motherly, nurturing, caring perspective for the world. And this is going to start to speed things up, perhaps. It's because this is the green light, this is fast momentum, right? So it could be that the motherly energy inside of you, right, is being activated, and that this is causing fast momentum in your life, fast progress in your life. Um, there's something about that. And then we have the Dark Lady. So Dark Lady is quite suppressive in a sense, but she's also a mother, right? So that's kind of fascinating. But this is like the dark motherly archetype. So what would be a dark motherly archetype as the opposite of caring and protecting? Like, what does a dark lady do, right? She doesn't have other people's best intentions at heart, you could say. She's the opposite of the divine mother, right? So she doesn't want the best for her children. She seeks to hold her children back, pretty much, right? So this is, I think, there's something about being held back versus fast progression, fast movement. could this just want to talk about clarifying this a little bit more, perhaps, about that you are doing this, what is being activated within you in terms of motherly, protective, caring energy towards the world could have something to do with that you're doing it out of pure intention, out of wanting the best for everyone, right? Wanting the best for everyone. Well, there are also energies, of course, that want to suppress, that don't want the best things for other people, right? So I don't know how this relates yet. And number 20 also has to do with judgment, right? So is not judgment is not helping people, I guess, is the message here. Judgment is not helping people. And specifically this talks about the judgment that doesn't hold the best intentions for other people, right? That seeks to hold people back, or that cannot be happy for someone else, for example, right? That's a dark lady in essence, and judgment comes with that usually. So let's just see. And then we have the raw card, which is incredibly fascinating because the raw card is, we hardly ever see this card, right? It's incredibly rare, as you know, as you have been following these messages. So it's very, very rare that we get the raw card. And it relates to the lion, right? The lion archetype, but also it relates to a lot of things. Most definitely about destiny. It relates highly towards destiny, destined events, destiny coming your way, but also inner knowing, looking at things from a higher perspective in terms of inner knowing, inner wisdom. So, which is also very interesting because the sage is also a wise person, right? The sage has discernment. The sage has wisdom, right? There's a wise individual. So the way he looks at the world is through the eyes of wisdom, you could say. It's in a very wise and discerning manner that he is looking at the world, which is similar to the lens, right? The lens comes back, the eyes of discernment, the eyes of wisdom, a wise look upon the world, which there is something about destiny that perhaps could talk about that this is activating, maybe destiny, perhaps. And there's something about the future. See, so the wise person here is seeing the future, is discerning the future. So there's something about that you have, that you are, that wisdom is activating as it pertains to the future. You are starting to see the future, perhaps. So let's see what this could be about. So let's just go top to bottom because that will make much more, give much more information. So we have this idea about like a motherly, like a protective, caring, nurturing stance, nurturing lens, a nurturing outlook on the world, right? So, and there's something about it, this is destined. So as you are starting to create things, make things, you are purifying, right? You are coming back to your holy nature, perhaps the journey of the Holy Fool, the Holy Mother Mary energy, right? So there's something about holy motherly energy that is activating, and you are starting to look at the world through the lens of like a holy motherly, caring, protective energy, which is destined, right? So you are looking at things from a higher wisdom kind of perspective. um, you're looking at things from a higher wisdom kind of perspective, and this is making you become very protective, loving, nurturing, right? A little bit like Mama Bear, who seeks the best of intentions for the people around her, right? And then we have the sage here. So we have Luatas the wild and the sage. There's something about, maybe this makes you go real fast, right? So maybe there is a lot of combustion, a lot of fuel, a lot of energy that comes with you discerning things. There's something about you are discerning the future, right? You are discerning, there's a wisdom activating, there's a discernment activating, and this is making you quite combustible, I guess. Like it's making you quite um, fiery, vital, And I'm also seeing now here we have the 5 and then we have the 5 and the 7. It makes me think right now about the Hierophant and the Chariot card in tarot. So this would be God and destiny, right? Taking destiny into your own hands, but it is God who is doing that. So God is activating something in you where you are taking humanity's destiny into your own hands, or you're taking the care, the nurturing, the protection of others into your own hands. And this is causing this combustible energy, this is causing this fiery energy inside of you. And there's something about that you are discerning something. You are discerning the future, I think. This is the eyes of discernment. This is the eyes of the Holy Spirit, right? So you are discerning the future, and it's making you become motherly activated, right? So you're seeking to protect, you're seeking to nurture, you're seeking to care, but in quite a strong way, you could say. And this could be the protection of your loved ones. This could be the protection of humanity. There's something about that is causing some kind of protective stance in you, where you are seeking to change, to take the future in your own hands. But this is the future of others. This is the future of the world, the future of humanity. Because you're motherly, right? A mother takes care of her children, right? Takes care of others. She's not focused on herself in a way. Then we have the dark lady, so this negative dark feminine who's seeking to suppress, right? So you could see this as those who nurture and care and protect people, so called, right? But actually don't have the best intentions for people at heart, right? So that's the opposite of that. And you are seeing the future. So maybe the combination of these two could be that you are seeing a future where people are being protected, cared for, nurtured by those who do not have their best intentions at heart, right? So you want to do something about it, and it makes you quite feisty, of course, which makes a lot of sense, right? Um, And then you have the feline as the underlying energy. So this is again, Satan is trying to get away with something, because that's always that card, right? Satan is trying to get away with something, but it also means that you have seen it, right? So that's what you're discerning, that Satan is starting to get away with something, and it's starting to cause that protective energy to come up inside of you, to rise inside of you. And then we have the Two of Wands, and we have the card of friendship. So why these blueberries? I don't think there's a memory connected to blueberries. No. So it makes me likely it has made me think about co-creation with God, because this makes me think the number three, like three, makes me think about friendship in the sense like a friendship with God, co-creation with God, right? So your friendship with God is causing a co-creation. So you're seeking to co-create another world, right? You're seeking to protect a loved one, your loved ones, humanity. You're seeking to co-create, and that is starting to become really, really activated as a result of you seeing that the world or humanity or your loved ones or a specific loved one is not being protected, is not being nurtured and cared for by those who want the best for them, right? So it has something to do with that. And then we have this here, and there's something about, well, there is a computer here. Two of Wands talks about complaining about the future. That's what the Two of Wands is about complaining about the future. So maybe you are complaining about the future. You're seeing you when you complain about the future, it's because you're seeing a future that is not in the best intention of your loved ones, right? And there's something here about, I think it is maybe that she is booking a flight to Seoul. but I don't know. It says, I think, BKK to Seoul. So and there is a flight. So yeah, that is a flight. She is booking a flight, it seems, to go from one place to the next place. You could see it as that as well, right? So maybe Satan is seeking to get away with bringing your loved ones from one place onto the next place, but it's not in their best intention, right? And it's because of your friendship with God that you are seeking to co-create with God, right? To not allow this to happen, I guess. To not allow this how Satan is seeking to transition your loved ones into a future that is not going to be in their best intention, or the world in general, humanity, specific loved one, right? So you are being protective, you are being nurtured, you are being yeah, and I'm getting a little bit of chills, but not completely, but and tingles as well. So I still don't know what the tingles are, um, as it relates to my vocabulary, right? But yeah, so let's see. Feline. So you are understanding that, and it's because of your friendship with God. It's because of your friendship with God that you are seeking to co-create another world, right? That you are seeking to co-create another future for a particular loved one, your loved ones, or the world in general. And it's making you fiery, right? And it's because of God that this is happening. And then you have the Unity cards. And this is also protection again, because the antlers always make me think about Algis, the rune Algis, which has to do with protection, but it also has to do with praying to God, your connection to God, right? So I do think that you are, because you are connected to God, you're seeking to protect, right? God is causing that within you. And there's something about independence, independence, and the stairway to light. And the stairway to light is, well, actually, number 22 does. It's a card that doesn't really exist, so it usually means to me a wild card, that you are being a wild card from God. So something quite unexpected, right? So something that is a wild card is like a card that God can throw into the mix, and like it's completely unexpected, but it likely disrupts things, right? So you are being played, right, as a wild card in terms of the deck, right? Like it's a wild card in terms of the deck. This is a stairway to light. What does that mean? It's not the journey. Like the fool would be number one. The, the world card is number 21, right? So this is like literally in between these two things. So it's not the end, it's the end. We are past the end of, I guess you could talk about something like that. You're past the end of the previous chapter. You could even see it as the end of the world and the new world that's going to be created. The the new chapter in between the old chapter that's gone, the new chapter that's going to be created, or the old world that's gone and a new world that's going to be created. And it's like in between, and you are independent yet connected to God, right? Independent yet connected to God, and you are co-creating with God as well. So you're independent, you're connected to God, and you're co-creating with God as well. Why the kiwi though? Kiwi. I don't know if there's a memory attached to it, to this card. I don't think it is. but there is like maybe it's because there is like a star and it's shining brightly, right? So it could be that you are shining brightly, which would most definitely connect to this really, really bright shining light. There's a shining light here as well. The shining light is I sometimes also see as the horizon, and even like could have something to do with the Truman Show, perhaps. Like the water on the horizon, right? Something about the water on the horizon and like this fake, fake sun, right? The fake light, and it seems to always connect to that when we get this card. Like last time as well, it was talking about the screen, right? Or the fake light on the screen. So you have like the fake light and then you have the real light, and that's what this is talking about. And the fake light is like the smartphone, right? It's all the devices and the light that comes from the screens. That's the fake light, right? So there's something about that you are seeking to protect humanity, perhaps from the fake light, and you would like to offer them the stairway to the light, right? The stairway to the real light, and you are on an independent journey. And there's something about shining brightly that like the screen shines brightly too, right? But it's not the light, you could say. And you're helping people. So maybe you want to be part of the transition between, and maybe you're fired up about it, but you want to be the part. I'm getting chills again. So you're like, so God is that's a big like God saying, yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. There's something about that you want to be a contributor, you could say, from like the old world into the new world, from the old chapter into the new chapter, right? And maybe you want to help transition from the fake light towards the real light, right? So that's the real horizon. So it has something to do with, again, like the Truman Show is very interesting here because you have like that fake light on the horizon because the whole thing is a set, right? And like the sun is a fake light, right? It's a fake sun. And there's something about like when you exit the Truman Show, right? You go into the real world, you could say. So maybe you want to help people transition into the real world again, in the sense like the world away from smartphones and devices, right? The fake light, away from the fake light towards the real light, you could say, right? Towards God. So yeah, maybe you want to help transition into that because like the screens are shining very, very brightly, you could say, right? But like God is also shining very, very brightly, you could say. There's something about that these screens shine too brightly, you could say. And the individual, you could see that as the star. I often see it as the chosen one, right? So the chosen one shines very brightly, which you could see as the individual. The individual shines very brightly. The individual shines very brightly, but this is smartphone screen and all these other devices screens that have this light also shines very brightly. And you could say it is the difference between, I guess, like I don't want to like juxtapose these two, but like there's like when people talk about the light that comes from the smartphone and other devices, it is blue light if I'm not mistaken. This is the yellow light, right? So there's something about do you want to help people transition away from the blue light into the white light, right? And the blue light has a very detrimental effect on people's brains, right? In terms of like motivation, things like that. And like I saw a video about the people being manipulated quite literally by this blue light that's coming from their screens, right? It makes them I think it makes them unmotivated or dull or like it does something to their brain, right? So it doesn't really help on top of that. If like the light that would be coming from the screens would at least be like yellow light instead of blue light, it would likely keep people more away from their phones, right? But probably it's being designed that way. I don't know if that was purposefully designed that way, but it could be that such a device would have a blue light to manipulate people even further, right? But yeah, but there's something about that you want to help people start shining again, right? As an individual, to start shining as an individual that's co-creating with God, an individual that is connected to God, right? To allow people to shine again, especially the chosen ones, right? That they can stand independently from perhaps their screens even, right? Their devices, that they can stand independent from their devices, that they can stand independent from, and that they can just literally stand independently and shine independently in connection to God, in co creation to God. So that's what this is talking about. So I'm wishing you a beautiful day ahead, and I hope this was helpful to you. Bye bye.